before your eyes ever closed in the hush of night, before lullabies found their melody, and long before the first breath of language, the world had already learned to rest. Not in the way you know, not on pillows, not beneath blankets, but in deep, silent rhythms, older than time as you measure it. Imagine the early earth, still soft with warmth, cradled by the arms of its young son. There were no cities, no thoughts, no footsteps yet, only elements swirling in ancient oceans. Yet even here, amid simplicity, a pulse had begun. Daylight shimmered on the surface, and darkness folded everything into cool shadow. The planet turned, slowly, faithfully, dividing time into warmth and quiet. That was the world's first breath between doing and being. Its first exhale into stillness. The very first cells, small, unseen, unknowing, floated in this cycle, bathed in light. They gathered energy, busy with their tiny lives. But when darkness returned, something changed. They slowed. They paused, their processes delicate dances of molecules, eased into quiet. They were not told to sleep. They remembered how it is here that sleep begins. Not as a command, but as a rhythm, as natural as waves pulling away from the shore. These cells did not think of sleep, but they felt it. As you do, in the marrow, in the hush that falls when the sun sinks low. They rested not because they were tired, but because the world around them quieted first. And over millions of years, that quiet deepened. From single cells came creatures with tiny bodies, and then with eyes, and eventually with brains, and each new shape of life carried that same memory forward. Even jellyfish, pulsing gently in the sea, pause their glow and still their movements. They sleep without thought. Worms slow their wriggling. Trees fold their leaves inward. Rest is not a choice, it is a returning. You see, sleep is not an invention of humans. It is a legacy, an inheritance from every ancestor that curled up when the dark came. From every atom that learned the song of the sun's goodbye. Before beds, there were branches. Before lullabies, there was wind. And even before dreams, there was the body sinking into the peace of pause. Now think of your own body, the heartbeat you carry, the breath that moves you like the tide. Inside you, your cells follow rhythms just as ancient. They know when light fades. They know when temperature drops. They quiet your muscles. They slow your pulse. They prepare you to become part of the night again. And it's not just your brain that sleeps. It's your entire being. Your lungs move slower, as if they too are listening for silence. Your blood flows with less urgency. Even your bones hum more softly. You are not switching off. You are going home, home to a state the earth has always known. Look at animals, and you'll see this too. Birds tuck their heads beneath wings. Whales sleep with half their brain awake, drifting in moonlit oceans. Bears sleep through entire seasons, hearts ticking slower than snowflakes fall. Sleep bends to shape, to species, to survival, but at its core, it is always the same, a surrender, a soft return. And though your world now glows at all hours, with screens, with voices, with clocks that never stop, the inner signal still remains. Your body, like the earth, listens for dark. It waits for quiet. It listens for its turn to soften. Even now, as you lie here, the same dance continues in you. Your brain begins to wave in slower rhythms. Thoughts scatter like leaves in slow wind. You may not feel it yet, but sleep has already begun its approach, like mist rolling in over the sea. But where does that rhythm come from? Why does your body trust the dark so deeply? The answer lies not just in biology, but in the way the cosmos itself moves. Even the stars sleep in their own way. Planets turn. Moons wax and wane. There are pulses in galaxies, slow, vast breaths of light and silence. The universe expands and rests, flares and fades. Sleep, it seems, may be not only cellular but cosmic. You are not separate from this. You are shaped by the same forces. The atoms in your hands were once parts of stars. The cycles in your body mirror those in the sky. You are in every sense made of rhythm. There are clocks inside you, not the kind that tick on walls, but those made of molecules and light. Deep in your brain, a cluster of cells listens for sunrise and sunset. This is your circadian rhythm, your inner timekeeper. It listens, even when you forget. It guides your wakefulness, and it gently invites you into rest. Even your cells, every one of them, obey these patterns. They change how they behave depending on whether it's day or night. Some repair you while you sleep. Some build memories. Some clean. Your body is never idle. It simply works in another way, a quieter way, when you drift into slumber. And you don't do it alone. All around the planet, sleep rolls in like a tide. As one side of the world sleeps, the other awakens. Somewhere a child is yawning. A wolf is curling into fur. A flower folds itself before the moon. You are part of that endless ballet, not a performer, but a note in the music. It's easy to forget, in the hum of modern life, that you are nature too, that your sleep is not lazy, but wise, that your stillness is not absence, but presence in another form. So tonight, as you settle into the hush, remember, the world has always slept, and you are only continuing what life began eons ago, when light gave way to dark, and the first cell remembered to rest. But before you let go, one question stirs, like a ripple on still water. If sleep came first from the earth's rhythm, then how does your brain know when it's time to dream? You sit now, beside a fire that no longer burns, but once did, long before your name, before cities, before books and bells. It flickers in your mind like a memory not quite yours, yet deeply familiar. The flames curl and crackle through time, casting shadows on the walls of ancient caves. Here, in the hush between survival and slumber, your ancestors learned to rest. Imagine them, bodies wrapped in furs, backs pressed to stone, eyes glinting in firelight. The night outside is wide, filled with rustlings and howls. But inside the circle of flame, there is warmth, there is light, there is the slow breathing of others nearby. This is where the first beds were formed. Not built, but made in gesture. A pile of leaves, a hollow in the earth, a shared skin. These were not places of comfort, but of trust. To sleep, then, was an act of courage. To close one's eyes while danger crouched beyond the trees, it required faith in the flicker. But the fire did more than protect. It signaled rhythm. As flames danced low, the body knew day was done. As coals dimmed, minds quieted. Fire became a lullaby, its crackle a pulse that echoed the heart. The light painted stories on the walls, the dark filled them in. And around that fire, a new kind of rest emerged. One not just of the body but of the spirit. You feel it now, even though you are far from caves. Something in you responds to flickering light, to the hush of glowing embers. Your nervous system softens. Your thoughts slow. You feel safe, not because the fire fights off danger, but because it reminds your body of a time when danger was named and known, edged just beyond the glow. The fire was the first clock. Before sundials, before hours and minutes, humans watched the sky and the flame. They rose with the sun and curled close when the stars came out. And in between, in that dusky blue, they listened for the quiet call to lie down. Even now, artificial lights cannot fully overwrite this ancient knowing. Your body still shifts with sunset. Your melatonin, that soft chemical tide, rises when daylight fades. You are still an animal of dusk. The fire inside you remembers, but rest was not always stillness. In those early nights, sleep came in phases. Our ancestors did not close their eyes for 8 uninterrupted hours. Instead, they dozed in shifts. They woke in the middle night, a time between 2 sleeps, to talk, tend the fire, or simply stare at the stars. This segmented sleep is not broken rest. It is ancient rhythm. You may know the feeling, waking in the dark, not from worry, but from some soft stirring. A moment of clarity, a thought like a thread, A breath that feels older than words. That is the middle night speaking, the ghost of ancestral sleep. And what of the wolves? They too stood at the edge of the fire's reach, watchful, silent, not yet companions, but not quite enemies. Some crept closer, some were fed. Over generations they changed. And so did we. The first dogs curled at our feet, guarding the dark, warming our sides. Together, we learned that rest could be shared. And stars, how brightly they watched. Before ceilings, before clocks, your ancestors looked up. The stars were constant, yet always moving. They became markers of time, of season, of sleep. Certain stars meant colder nights. Others promised spring. To sleep beneath stars was not lonely. It was to be part of a sky that breathed. Even now, your mind calms beneath a clear sky. Something in you unfolds when you see the night unbroken. This too is memory. Not personal but cellular. You are a mosaic of those who looked up before you. So you lie now in your own bed, different in form perhaps, but not in purpose. You are not so far from those caves. Your mattress is softer. Your fire is now a warm lamp, a quiet hum. But the intention is the same, to draw the world inward, to curl into self and safety, to pause. And as you drift, your body still listens to shadows, to rhythms, to echoes of flame. Think of your breath, how it matches the pulse of a distant campfire. In, like the crackle, out, like the smoke. Each breath carries you closer to that first sleep, to that first knowing that rest is not a weakness, but a wisdom. Because before sleep was ritual, it was instinct. Before it became scheduled, it was sacred. And as you sink into the dark, one image stays with you. A fire glowing low, ashes soft as snow. A child curled beside a parent, the howl of something wild, just far enough away. You carry this history in your chest. The question that stirs next is not about where we slept, but how we began to drift into dreams, and what those early dreams might have been. Your eyes close, and the world outside fades, not all at once, but in gentle layers. Light dims into shadow, sound softens into hush. The edges of thought blur like ink in warm water. You may think you're still awake, still in control, but beneath the surface, something else begins, something older, something rhythmic. Inside your skull, the brain begins to dance. Not a frantic dance, not even a waltz. It is slower than that. A turning, a spiraling, a descent into sleep that is neither sudden nor sharp, but curved, like the shell of a nautilus. You do not fall asleep like flipping a switch. You spiral into it, gliding through stages, one after the other, each one darker, quieter, deeper than the last. At first you hover in the shallows. This is stage one, light sleep. Your heartbeat softens, your breathing slows. Muscles loosen their hold. You are still aware vaguely of the world. A creak in the floor, a bird outside. But you are already stepping away. Then comes stage two. Here, your body truly begins to rest. Your temperature drops slightly. Your heart settles into a steadier rhythm. And in your brain, short bursts of energy spark across the darkness. Sleep spindles, they're called. Tiny flickers of learning and memory, like stars pulsing in a velvet sky. And deeper still, stage three. Slow wave sleep, delta waves now. Your brain has quieted. These waves move slowly, like whales swimming beneath the surface. This is the sleep your body craves most. Muscles repair, bones strengthen. Your immune system whispers its repairs. If your body were a house, this would be when the caretakers move through the halls, mending, sweeping, restoring in silence. But then, the spiral turns again. You begin to rise back through the stages. And just before you surface, your brain shifts into something strange, something bright. This is REM sleep, rapid eye movement. Your eyes flicker beneath your lids, like minnows darting beneath a pond's surface. Your brain waves speed up, almost like waking. Your muscles become still, locked gently in place, and your mind begins to dream. This is the moment your inner world lights up. Colors, shapes, stories, faces that have never existed, voices that speak truths or nonsense. You are not awake, but your brain is not asleep either. It is imagining, weaving, sorting the day's impressions into something symbolic. You may dream you're flying. You may dream of someone long gone. You may dream of things that make no sense at all. But the act of dreaming isn't random. It's sculptural. The brain picks up the debris of the day and fashions meaning, or at least sensation from it. Then, as quietly as it began, REM fades. You drift down again, back through the spiral, and so the cycle continues. Each night, your brain repeats this dance, down into slow waves, up into dreams, about every 90 minutes. 4, maybe 5 spirals per night. The cycles change as you sleep longer. Early in the night, the deep stages are longer. Later, REM takes the stage more often. The night becomes more dream-filled as dawn approaches. You are not in one place during sleep. You are moving, not through space but through states of being. And through all this, your body and brain are talking, quietly, constantly. Hormones ebb and flow, cortisol lowers, growth hormone rises. Your brain cleans itself, literally. Cerebrospinal fluid washes through it like a tide, clearing out what's no longer needed. Imagine that, your brain washing itself, gently, every night. A tide of clarity. You may think of sleep as stillness, but inside you are a storm of quiet transformations, and the spiral shape matters. It is not simply a pattern. It is a rhythm your body trusts. It is not a ladder. You do not climb or fall. You turn inward. You deepen. You return again and again to places within you that are quiet, healing, and beyond thought. Even the very structure of your brain reflects this spiral nature. The hippocampus, the part that forms new memories, is curled like a seahorse. Your cortex folds inward, like the petals of a sleeping flower. The spiral is your shape, your signature. Nature loves spirals. Galaxies spiral. Ferns unfurl in spirals. Hurricanes, snails, your inner ear, all spiral. And sleep, too, takes this path, not linear, not square, but curved, rhythmic, graceful. The staircase of sleep has no handrail. You do not force yourself downward. You are carried by biochemistry, by temperature, by ancient habit. And each night, the spiral begins again. The spiral begins again. Sometimes you may wake in the middle of it. That's natural. The spiral does not break. It simply waits for you to rejoin it. You may wake with a start, or with a question. Sometimes the dream follows you out. Sometimes it fades before your eyelids lift. Either way, the spiral continues its turn. And in that spiral, healing happens. Not only physical, but emotional. Memories are shuffled and stored. Some are strengthened, others softened. Emotional weight is lifted. Fear is drained. Creativity is stirred. Have you ever gone to sleep feeling tangled and woken with clarity? That is the spiral doing its quiet work. Even animals follow this pattern. Cats curl and drift through their own cycles. Birds tuck their heads and spiral down in miniature. Dolphins, remarkable creatures, let one half of their brains sleep while the other remains alert, spiraling through rest in a divided rhythm. Every being with a nervous system, from insects to elephants, follows some pattern of this turning. You are never alone in your sleep. You spiral with the planet. As the Earth turns on its axis, half the globe sinks into rest, while the other wakes. You are part of this breathing, turning world. Sleep, for you, is not escape. It is synchronization. And in these hours of spiraling descent, your body and mind return to something essential. Not just rest, but reconnection with self, with memory, with the pattern of the world. Your brain does not sleep in silence. It sings in waves. You float now in one such wave. Thoughts loosen, edges blur. You begin to descend again, not downward but inward. A curl, a softening. You are stepping once more into your own hidden staircase. And just as your body sinks, the question rises like mist. What do dreams want to tell you when the spiral carries you deep enough to hear? You are asleep, but something in you is wide awake. Beneath the hush of your breath, behind the stillness of your limbs, your brain is moving, not wildly, not aimlessly, but with delicate purpose. It is sweeping the floor of the mind, clearing corners, folding thoughts, turning the day's noise into something softer. Imagine a library at night. Lamps low, silence everywhere. And in the shadows quiet figures move. They do not speak, they sort, they dust. They shelve what matters and carry away what doesn't. Your mind, too, has its librarians, neurons that do their work in darkness. Sleep is not an idle place. It is a place of deep maintenance. And dreams are part of that quiet labor. You may wake and wonder why you dreamt of a hallway that led nowhere, or a face from years ago wearing the wrong voice. It may seem like nonsense, but dreams are not gibberish. They are summaries, condensations of emotion, translations of the day's experience into the language of fog and feeling. When you sleep, your brain replays the day. But it doesn't show you the whole film. It edits, it highlights, it cuts. The hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped keeper of memory, decides which moments are worth keeping. It lifts them gently and offers them to the cortex, where long-term memory lives. This offering doesn't happen in words. It happens in impressions, emotions, symbols. And so you dream, not as a way to escape the world, but as a way to understand it. A conversation you had that left you uneasy might become a crumbling house in a dream. A joy you felt might appear as flying. A lingering question might become a maze with no exit. Not to confuse you, but to reflect the shape of the feeling. Dreams do not speak in logic. They speak in metaphor. Your brain cannot replay everything. It would be too much. So it selects. It sweeps. Just as the body clears waste through the lymphatic system, your brain clears waste through something called the glymphatic system, a kind of night janitor that washes out unnecessary neural clutter. This system is most active when you sleep, especially during the deep and REM stages. You are being cleaned. Inside your skull, not just of toxins but of static, of unused data. And the memories that are kept, they are not stored exactly as they happened. They are stitched into patterns, woven into networks. What you learn today may connect with something from childhood, or something you don't consciously remember. That's why your dream may feature your elementary school lunchroom and someone you met last week, both sitting at the same table. The mind is associative. It groups things by meaning, not by time. And this meaning-making, this nighttime stitching, is emotional. If the day left you overwhelmed, your dreams may be louder, stranger. If the day brought peace, your dreams may drift gently, like leaves in still water. Your amygdala, the part of your brain that processes emotion, remains active during REM sleep. So do the visual and motor areas, but your prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic and planning, goes quiet. And so the dream is vivid, but ungoverned. Felt, but not directed. A place where your fears walk freely, but so do your hopes. A place where a closed door becomes a question, where a missed train becomes regret, where flying is freedom. Some dreams feel meaningless, and some, though made of fog, leave fingerprints on your mood for hours. This is no accident. This is your brain's way of helping you metabolize life. Think of it as psychic composting. You take the leftovers of waking life, conversations, memories, moods, and break them down. The useful parts are absorbed, the rest fades. This is why sleep helps you learn. Why you may wake up with clarity you didn't have the night before. During dreams, your brain strengthens connections between related ideas. It prunes the rest. It finds patterns. It makes sense of things that seemed senseless. Even animals dream. Dogs twitch in their sleep. Cats chirp. Rats have been shown to rehearse mazes in their dreams, their brains replaying the paths they ran, as if practicing silently. It's not just poetry, it's process. You are not dreaming randomly. You are dreaming in a pattern designed by evolution to help you adapt, remember, and release. You may not always remember your dreams. That's normal. Many are too delicate to survive waking. Like mist, they dissolve as the sun rises. But their work is done. The brain does not need you to remember dreams in order for them to matter. They do their work in secret, sweeping, stitching, sorting. And perhaps that's the most beautiful part. Your brain takes care of you, even when you are gone from yourself, even when you drift, even when you surrender completely. Every night, you become the library, and every night, the librarians come. They do not need your permission. They already know the way. And as they walk the shelves of memory, they leave the lights low, because something else stirs now. A question, rising like smoke from the floor. If dreams help you process the past, what helps you prepare for what hasn't come yet? You sleep in your own way. Some nights you drift easily, as if carried on a tide. Other nights, sleep holds back, a shape behind a curtain you can't quite draw open. Some mornings you rise before the sun. Others, you chase slivers of dreams long past the alarm. And yet, beneath all this variation, you belong to something universal. You are a body ruled by rhythm. Not the rhythm of obligation or calendars, but the deeper one. The one that pulses quietly beneath your skin. Born not of time zones or schedules, but of light, of darkness, of ancient signals still written into your cell. This is your circadian rhythm. Circadian, from the Latin circa diem, meaning about a day. It is your inner clock, not a ticking one, but a biochemical dance of alertness and fatigue. A pattern written not in numbers but in waves of hormones and shifts in temperature. You are a clock wrapped in skin, and your master timekeeper, your conductor, sits deep within your brain, in a tiny bundle of cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SE. It is no larger than a grain of rice, but it listens to the sun. It receives signals from the eyes, from the light you see, and tells the rest of your body what time it is. This is how your organs know when to rise, how your gut knows when to be hungry, how your heart knows when to slow. You may think of sleep as a switch, but your body thinks of it as a sequence, a slow, deliberate dimming. Melatonin is your dusk signal. As light fades, your pineal gland begins to release this quiet chemical. It's not a sedative. It doesn't make you sleep. It makes you ready to sleep, like a curtain drawn gently across your mind. Cortisol, your morning signal, does the opposite. Often misunderstood as simply a stress hormone, it's actually a vital part of waking. As dawn nears, even before your eyes open, cortisol rises, nudging your body into alertness. This seesaw, melatonin down, cortisol up, is part of your inner dance. But light is the choreographer. Your body does not only follow the clock on the wall, it follows the sun. Morning light, especially blue light, tells your brain to reset the day. It says begin again. That's why walking outside in the early hours can anchor your rhythm so powerfully. But light at night, especially artificial light, can blur the edges. Screens, lamps, overhead bulbs, they trick the brain into thinking the sun is still above you. Melatonin retreats, your mind stays watchful. The inner clock ticks off beat. That's why you may lie in bed and wonder why sleep won't come. Your body is still waiting for the signal to dim. And it's not just light. Temperature plays a role too. Your body cools itself in preparation for sleep. That drop in core temperature, subtle but essential, helps signal the descent into deeper stages. Even your hands and feet, warming as your core cools, play a part. They radiate excess heat, like tiny vents. If you've ever tossed the blanket off and on, searching for comfort, you felt this thermoregulation at work. Even food speaks to your sleep rhythm. Hunger and fullness influence your alertness. Eating late can delay sleep. Digestion keeps the body busier than you might think. And the kinds of food, sugar, caffeine, heavy meals can tip the balance. It's a conversation happening in your body all day long. Light and dark, warm and cool, hunger and stillness. Each voice shaping the rhythm of your rest. And yet, no two rhythms are exactly alike. Some people rise easily with the sun, morning larks. Others bloom as night falls, evening owls. This isn't laziness or habit, it's biology. Your chronotype, your natural tendency toward morningness or eveningness, is partly genetic. It shifts with age too. Teenagers are often evening types. Older adults may wake with the dawn. Your rhythm is a river, winding with the years. Society often favors the early riser. But the body holds its own truth, and honoring your rhythm, when you can, is a kind of self-listening, a kind of kindness. You may wonder why your body resists sleep on some nights. The answer may not lie in the day's stress alone, but in small misalignments. A missed morning walk, a bright light too late, a schedule that bends you out of tune. But your rhythm is resilient. It can be gently reset, not by force, but by habit. Morning light, regular sleep times, calm evenings. These are the notes that restore the song. Because when your rhythm aligns, when your clock hums in harmony with the turning earth, sleep comes like a tide. Not as a task, but as a return. And even though the world buzzes around you with alarms, deadlines, screens, your body listens still to the deeper music. The music that began before electricity, before hours and minutes. The music of sunrise and cool wind, of stars blinking in, of fires growing dim. You sleep the way you do not, because you're weak or restless, but because your body is trying to keep time with a rhythm older than thought. So tonight when you lie down, remember, your body is not confused. It is responding. It is to what you see, to what you feel, to the temperature in the room, to the memory of morning, and the promise of dusk. You are not broken. You are tuning, and as you tune, another question flickers like a candle in a window. If your rhythm guides when you sleep, what happens when the rhythm is interrupted? You sleep with your whole body. You close both eyes, sink into stillness, and let go, all of you, at once. That's what sleep has always meant to you, a total surrender, a full body hush. But not every creature shares that luxury. Some have learned to rest with only half of themselves. Take the dolphin. In the open ocean, sleep can be dangerous. There are no pillows, no quiet rooms. There is only the current, the surface, the need to breathe. Dolphins, like you, must rise to inhale, but they cannot rise if they are completely asleep. So nature made a quiet compromise. One half of the dolphin's brain sleeps, while the other stays awake, alert, watching, guiding the body to surface. Then they switch back and forth, like a lighthouse alternating beams. This is called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, and it is one of the ocean's gentlest miracles. Even with one eye closed, the dolphin never stops listening. Seals do something similar. When they're at sea, they let one hemisphere rest at a time. But when they return to land, they sleep more like you do. Sleep, then, is not a single shape. It adapts. It bends with the needs of survival. Consider birds. Some migrate thousands of miles without stopping. In the air, wings beating, they snatch micro moments of sleep mid-flight. Unihemispheric, like the dolphin. One eye open to the wind, the other turned inward. Frigate birds, known for their wide glides over open ocean, can sleep just a few seconds at a time, while aloft. These bursts, strung like beads along their journey, are enough to keep them going until they reach rest. And when they do land, they sleep deeper, longer, replenishing what was borrowed. Then there are animals who enter something quieter than sleep. Torpor. Imagine a bear curling in for winter, or a hummingbird at dusk. Their bodies slow to a near standstill. Heart rate falls. Breathing softens. It's not quite sleep. Not quite waking. A threshold. Hummingbirds drop their temperature dramatically at night. From a warm, fluttering life to near silence, they enter a mini hibernation. A pause. It's the only way they survive until sunrise. Insects do it too. So do amphibians. Whole species folding themselves into silence when the world grows cold. Even reptiles, though not known for dreams, show rest-like states. Their brains don't cycle like yours, but they still pause, still retreat. And what of the octopus? It sleeps, yes, but in REM-like bursts. Its body flashes with color. Its skin shifts, as if it is dreaming through its whole body. We don't yet know what these color storms mean. But we know this: something stirs beneath the surface. Something that looks, at least in part, like a story. Nature whispers in many dialects of rest. And still, across all these variations, one thing remains: a rhythm, a pattern of pause. Whether in halves or pulses, minutes or months, creatures across the planet find their version of stillness. You may not sleep like a dolphin, but you carry the same need to withdraw, to repair, to drift. And your body, like theirs, has adapted to your world. You sleep behind doors, beneath blankets, with alarms and clocks and walls to soften the outside. But underneath those layers is the same question every creature must ask. How do I survive the night? Sometimes that means sleeping deeply, sometimes lightly, sometimes not at all. And in modern life, humans, too, have begun to sleep in strange shapes. Segmented, delayed, interrupted. A patchwork of quiet moments, stolen from noise. You are not the only creature learning to bend sleep into new forms. But even in this bending, you are not broken. You are responding, adapting. Like the frigate bird, you may fly longer than you'd like. Like the bear, you may need to retreat. Like the dolphin, you may keep one part of you watchful while the rest seeks peace. You are, like all life, looking for stillness in a moving world. And as you find your own way, your rhythm, your pause, another quiet wonder begins to stir. What happens when we no longer sleep alone? You lie still. Your breath slows. The world outside your room fades to nothing. You are asleep, or so it seems. But inside, deep within the cathedral of your body, there is motion. Not frantic, not loud, but purposeful, quiet as a tide, under moonlight. This is not the rest of machines turned off. It is the restoration of something alive. Sleep for your body is not escape. It is sacred labor. Every night, as your thoughts drift away, your body begins to mend itself. Tissues torn by daily movement begin to weave themselves back together. Tiny tears in muscle fibers, left by lifting, walking, reaching, are threaded with new protein, as if by invisible hands. These repairs make you stronger, more resilient, more whole. It is not work you can feel, but it is work that matters. Your immune system, too, comes alive in the dark. Like gardeners tending to a quiet field, immune cells move through your blood, searching, restoring. They mark invaders. They remember threats. They lay down defenses for the days to come. This process is most powerful when you sleep deeply, in the slow-wave stages of REM. Your body is not distracted then. It turns inward, like a house whose doors have been gently closed, so that all energy can be focused on the rooms within. And as the night deepens, your hormones sing their slow songs. Growth hormone, which is not just for children, rises like a gentle tide. It aids in regeneration of skin, of bone, of connective tissue. Cortisol, the hormone that wakes you, dips low, allowing other voices to rise. Melatonin soothes. Leptin and ghrelin, the hunger hormones, shift and balance. Your metabolic orchestra plays its nightly piece, soft and essential. Even your heart rests differently at night. Your blood pressure drops, your heart rate slows. The vessels that carry blood through your body relax, as if sighing after a long day. This gives your cardiovascular system a break, a nightly retreat that reduces wear, softens stress, and your brain, though it dreams in spirals, does its own kind of healing. Cerebrospinal fluid, that clear tide inside your skull, pulses through your brain tissue, washing away the byproducts of thought. This cleansing, often compared to rinsing the day from your neural shores, clears proteins that if left behind could cloud memory, sharpen confusion, blur the mind's light. Sleep is your brain's deep breath. If you've ever woken after a full night's sleep and felt your body strangely lighter, as though something weightless had been lifted, the work was done in silence. And the rhythm matters. Your body times this healing with care. The early hours of sleep bring the deepest rest. The later hours bring more dreams. Each part of the night plays its role. Cut the night short, and the repair remains incomplete. Stretch it too far from its natural rhythm, and the harmony begins to fray. This is why rest is not just about duration, but timing. You are aligned with light, whether you notice or not. Healing follows a rhythm as old as the earth's spin, and when you are ill, your body asks for more sleep. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. Fever pulls you into deeper slumber. Fatigue quiets the mind. The body signals that now is not the time to move, but to mend. It clears your calendar and draws the curtain. And when wounds heal faster during sleep, when pain softens in slumber, it is not magic, it is biology honoring your stillness. Even dreams may play a part. Some scientists believe that dreams, especially emotionally vivid ones, help soften trauma, reorganize fear, and allow the heart to heal as well as the flesh. You might dream of something lost or something feared, and wake with less weight inside you. Not because the dream solved anything, but because it offered a place for feelings to stretch and soften. Grief too dreams, and the body listens. Healing is not always visible. It doesn't come with fanfare. It often happens quietly, when you think you are doing nothing. But that nothing is a kind of trust, a yielding, a sacred allowance for the body to do what it knows how to do, if only given space. Tonight, as you sleep, blood will move to the places that need mending. Cells will divide with purpose. Hormones will whisper to each other in the dark. Wounds you can't see, and some you can, will knit themselves slowly, patiently. This is the night shift you never clock into, yet benefit from each morning. And so, sleep is not idleness. It is the night's slow stitching. It is the whisper of the body saying, I remember how to make you whole. You are being cared for, even when no one else is watching. And somewhere, just below thought, another question lingers like smoke above a candle. If your body heals in sleep, how does sleep heal the stories you carry inside? You are standing in a place that does not exist. You recognize the shape of the street, the sound of a voice that isn't quite right, the way the sky looks like home and something else. The rules are different here. Gravity forgets itself. Time moves sideways. The people you meet wear borrowed faces. And yet, you believe it. You walk through the dream as though it were solid. But what is it exactly that you are walking through? A dream is not a story you choose. It is something woven from emotion, from memory, from the debris and treasure of your day. It is constructed behind closed eyelids by a mind that never truly sleeps. Your brain in slumber becomes a quiet theater. In REM sleep, when dreams are most vivid, your brain lights up with activity, not randomly, but in patterns. Areas responsible for emotion and imagery, for memory and sensation, spark to life. Meanwhile, areas tied to logic, restraint, and planning go quiet. You are left with feeling, vividness, story, without the boundaries of realism. The amygdala, which processes fear, becomes active. The hippocampus sifts through recent experiences. The visual cortex flickers with light and shape, even in total darkness. It is as if your mind is directing a film, built entirely from pieces of you. But unlike a film, The architecture of a dream isn't static. It shifts as you walk through it. Walls appear and vanish. Doors open to places they shouldn't. Landscapes bend, stretch, collapse. You are not a passive viewer. You are both actor and architect. Dreams borrow from your memories, but not in neat slices. You might dream of your childhood home, with the kitchen from your current apartment. You might see your best friend speaking with your mother's voice. This fusion is the mind's signature. It doesn't store memories like files in drawers. It stores them as threads in a web. Dreaming is what happens when the web is stirred and connections flicker in new patterns. One neuron fires. It remembers the scent of oranges. Another joins the feel of a winter coat. Together, they create a moment, you in a snowy grove, picking fruit that never grows in cold. And because the part of your brain that questions logic, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, is mostly offline during dreams, you do not resist the strangeness. You live it. You are inside a story that writes itself as you go. And the materials for that story come from every corner of your waking life. Recent events often appear. A conversation, a headline, a worry left unresolved. But so do older pieces, long buried, a song from your teenage years, a house from a forgotten vacation. Dreams are not only mirrors, they are blueprints. They test ideas, they explore feelings, they help you rehearse danger or imagine peace. Some scientists believe this rehearsal function helped early humans survive. Dream the predator, and you might be quicker when it comes. Others suggest dreams help us process social complexities, replaying arguments, softening misunderstandings, rehearsing better endings. And yet, some dreams seem to come from nowhere at all. These, too, have purpose. They allow the mind to wander, to make sense of itself, to explore emotion without consequence, to find metaphors for things that cannot be named in waking life. In this way, dreams are both deeply personal and universally human. We all dream. Even if we do not remember, most dreams are forgotten within minutes of waking. The neural paths that form during REM sleep do not always consolidate into long-term memory. That doesn't make them meaningless. It simply means they are meant to be lived, not carried. But some dreams linger. They return night after night. Or they shake something loose. Or they leave behind a feeling that colors the day. These dreams often carry more than narrative. They carry need. They may highlight something unspoken, a grief that needs breath, a hope left unwatered, a fear that has grown in shadow. And when a dream wakes you with its urgency, it is not always trying to warn. Sometimes it is simply trying to show. The architecture of a dream is not built with precision, but with feeling. Each room is drawn by emotion. Each corridor shaped by memory. The stairs that go nowhere. The mirror that reflects someone else. The door that leads back to where you began. All of it says something. Not always in words, but in sensation. You do not have to interpret your dreams to be changed by them. Sometimes, the dream is the message. A reminder that your mind is not silent, even when your mouth is. That you are thinking in images. That you are alive in layers. And though we still do not fully understand why we dream, science continues to study, to map, to wonder. What we do know is this: dreams are part of being human. They are stitched into our biology, our psychology, our evolution. They accompany us from infancy to old age. They appear in every culture, in every language, in every night. You are not the only builder in the dark. Every night, billions of people around the world drift into their own sleeping theaters. Some dream in color, some in black and white. Some wake laughing, others weep. You may dream of things you have never seen, faces you've never met, futures that haven't come. And when you wake, the theater dims. The architecture dissolves, but something stays. A shape, a mood, a spark, a question. Because after walking through those ever-changing halls, one wonder remains, flickering at the edge of waking. If dreams borrow from memory, can they also help you see what hasn't yet happened. There are nights when your bed holds your body, but not your rest. You lie still, eyes open to the dark. The ceiling stares back, silent. You've turned the pillow. You've quieted the room. But sleep, that gentle tide, does not rise. And so, you drift in a different way, between thoughts, between moments, between the ache of needing rest and the pressure of not finding it. This is insomnia. Not always chronic, not always severe, but deeply, recognizably human. It is older than cities, older than clocks. Even your ancestors, who slept beside fires and beneath stars, knew the weight of nights that would not soften. Insomnia is not failure. It is not your fault. It is the mind trying to protect itself, and sometimes overdoing it, a brain that remains on guard long after danger has passed. A body that mistakes stillness for threat, and it is more common than you think. Nearly 1 in 3 adults experiences short-term insomnia at some point. Nearly 1 in 3 adults experiences short-term insomnia at some point. For some, it passes with a change in season, in stress, in circumstance. For others, it lingers, shaping the night with tension and the day with fog. The reasons are many. Stress is a frequent spark. A mind too full, thoughts echoing like footsteps in a hallway with no end. The body's natural alarm system, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, stays lit, releasing cortisol when it should be fading. Anxiety heightens awareness. Your heart beats a little faster, muscles hold tight. The bed becomes a stage where worries perform in silence. Sometimes insomnia is tied to disruption, travel, shift work, illness, light thrown into your window at midnight. The glow of a screen held too long, a late cup of tea that tips the balance. Even joy can stir it. Anticipation, excitement, a mind that dances when it's meant to sleep. And then there are the nights with no clear cause. You followed the rituals, you dimmed the lights, but still, the sleep you expected never came. This too is part of being alive. Because sleep, though deeply biological, is also delicate. It is not something you can will into being. The more you chase it, the more it hides. The more you measure it, the more elusive it becomes. It is a paradox, and it is backed by science. When you fixate on sleep, your arousal system stays active. The sympathetic nervous system, responsible for fight or flight, quietly resists surrender. You lie still, but inside, you are braced. And yet, even in these restless hours, your body may still be doing some of sleep's work. Research shows that quiet wakefulness, lying in the dark, eyes closed, undistracted, allows some healing to continue. It's not as deep, not as efficient, but it's not nothing. So if sleep won't come, rest anyway. Let the body soften, even if the mind does not. You are not empty. You are recalibrating. And when sleep does return, whether slowly or all at once, it often comes not with effort, but with permission. Letting go of the pursuit, turning toward calm instead of conquest. This is why certain approaches to insomnia don't try to force sleep, but instead rebuild trust. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI, is the most evidence-based method. It works by changing not just your routine but your relationship with rest. It teaches your mind that the bed is a safe place again, not a battleground. It sets anchors, consistent wake times, even after a poor night, limited naps, time spent outside in daylight, gentle winding down in the evening, without screens, without urgency. It quiets the performance anxiety of sleep. Because sleep, in truth, cannot be commanded. It must be invited. Sometimes it helps to see the night differently. Not as a void, but as a space. Not as time lost, but as a moment held. You may not be asleep, but you are not broken. You are waiting, and even that is an act of trust. And while science continues to map the mechanisms of sleep disruption from neurotransmitters to circadian misalignment, what it reveals again and again is how finely tuned rest really is. Powerful, yes, but also tender. The same brain that builds dreams, that stitches memory and heals tissue, can also hold fear. The same nervous system that slows your heart can speed it. You are not malfunctioning. You are human. And in this there is something quietly beautiful. Even in the absence of sleep, the body is still seeking balance, still listening for quiet, still trying, always, to find its way home. Tonight may be restless, but the next may not. And the one after that may carry you gently back to the center of your spiral. And as the night stretches on, long, quiet, unresolved, a new thought rises like a ripple in the dark. What happens when your sleep is no longer only your own? You lie in your bed, perhaps with a phone nearby, perhaps wearing a watch that listens to your heartbeat. A quiet monitor hums beneath your mattress, sensing shifts, scoring your sleep. Somewhere in the dark, data is being collected. Tonight, you are not only sleeping, you are being observed, gently, invisibly, by the tools we've made to understand ourselves. This is the future of sleep, or at least one version of it. Smart beds that adjust to your temperature and position, headbands that measure brain waves, apps that hum lullabies, tuned to your sleep cycles. White noise, pink noise, even artificial moonlight, all offered in pursuit of deeper rest. And in research labs, the picture grows clearer. Scientists watch your brain's symphony through electrodes. They trace the rhythm of your REM, the depth of your delta waves, the shape of your dreams. Every breath, every twitch, every shadow of movement becomes a clue. We are learning more than ever before. We know that disrupted sleep is linked to memory loss, mood disorders, even chronic illness. We understand now how sleep restores the immune system, clears toxins, balances hormones, preserves emotional health. We've built machines that can watch sleep in real time, framing something once invisible into shape. And yet, even with all this knowledge, sleep remains elusive for many. The paradox deepens. The more we try to control sleep, the more it resists. The more we track, the more pressure we feel. Sleep performance becomes a goal, another item on the to-do list, another metric to improve. But sleep is not a race. It is not a number to be reached. It is, at its core, a surrender, a rhythm that cannot be rushed. In our effort to measure it, we must be careful not to lose what sleep really is, a return to self, to stillness, to softness. The future may offer pills that perfect the cycle, neurostimulators that guide your brain toward deeper rest, sleep pods that mimic lunar conditions, algorithms that predict your dreams before you have them. And yet, the most essential parts of sleep remain untouched by wires. The warmth of a blanket pulled to your chin, the hush that falls after the lights go out, the slow exhale that begins your spiral downward. These are not new. They are ancient. And perhaps the future of sleep will not only be technological but human, redesigning our cities so that they honor night, relearning the value of darkness, building lives that allow time to rest without guilt, teaching children not just how to sleep, but why we sleep, understanding that rest is not laziness, that sleep is not weakness, that the mind needs pauses as much as it needs thoughts. And perhaps the most radical act in the future will be simply unplugging, turning off the glow, returning to the body, listening for what it needs, not what a screen reports, because the deepest rest is often the kind you don't document. You don't remember falling asleep. You don't track your dreams, but you wake lighter, softer, clearer. Something in you was repaired. And maybe the question ahead is not how do we sleep better, but why have we forgotten how to let ourselves sleep at all? Can we allow rest to be sacred again? Can we hold space for stillness in a world of movement? As science continues its journey, and it will, revealing more about brainwaves, memory, and consciousness, we can walk alongside it with reverence. Because sleep is not just biological. It is personal, emotional, poetic. It is where you meet yourself without performance. It is where your body heals without applause. It is where your mind paints with no audience. So tonight, even as your devices hum and your mattress breathes with you, remember, you do not need to optimize what you can simply honor. You are not a machine. You are a rhythm. And now, as your thoughts slow and your breath deepens, the glow fades, the data quiets, and something ancient in you begins again. Each night, without ceremony, you lie down. You draw the blanket up, dim the lights, and prepare to disappear. But sleep is not disappearance. It is not an ending. It is a return, soft, slow, and deeply personal. You are not vanishing. You are coming home to yourself. The body knows the way. The breath begins to deepen. Muscles loosen. Thought dissolves like sugar in warm water. You begin the quiet descent, not with a leap, but with a release. This is surrender. Not in weakness, but in wisdom. Every night, you rehearse the art of letting go. You let go of control, of to-do lists, of vigilance. You place your mind on the edge of a tide that does not ask for direction, and slowly, rhythmically, it carries you inward. Sleep is the only state in which you do not speak, decide, defend, or define yourself. You exist without performance, without proof, and still you are healing. Still you are whole. Science can explain much of what happens in this descent. The cascade of hormones, the drop in temperature, the shift in brainwaves, the cycles and stages. But even within all that clarity, there remains something luminous. Sleep is necessity dressed as mystery. Why do we dream? Why do we need a third of our lives in this strange suspension? We know what sleep does, but why it does it this way, silently, in shadows, without memory, is still, in many ways, an unanswered question. And maybe that is part of the grace. Not everything that heals you must be understood. Not everything essential must be explained. Sleep is a reminder that you are more than logic, more than waking hours, that restoration is not always visible, that the deepest work often happens beneath awareness. You do not will your body to heal. It does so as you release it. You do not think your way into clarity. Sleep allows it to arrive. In this way, rest is not absence. It is presence in another form, a form that does not ask, demand, or measure, only that you soften, and in softening, you begin again. Because every descent into sleep is also a preparation for waking. Morning comes, not as a restart, but as a return. A new rhythm begins. And it begins only because you allowed yourself to pause. This cycle, this spiral of wakened sleep, effort and ease, holding and releasing, is the most ancient pattern your body knows. It is older than your name, older than your story. It is the earth's rhythm, whispered into your cells. So now, as the final descent begins, as the night folds around you, you are not escaping, you are remembering. Remembering how to rest, how to yield, how to be carried by something larger than effort. There is no prize for resisting rest, no reward for vigilance that never sleeps, but there is peace in the surrender. And tonight, you offer your body back to the dark, not in fear, but in trust. You let gravity hold you. You let the rhythm resume. You close your eyes, not to vanish, but to begin again.